On Saturday night, the anticipation was high for the Pitt Panthers team as they emerged from the tunnel, hoping to defeat the Coastal Division favorite Virginia in an ACC opener. But all that came crashing down as the Panthers could not get much going offensively as Virginia won 30-14 in the first game of the season. We take a look at what transpired in the Panthers' loss and look ahead to this week's opponent, a tough MAC team in Ohio. That and more on this week's H2P Pitt Podcast.
What was your message about finishing it in these final 30 minutes?
Well, it happened in West Virginia where we knocked off number 2. It happened in South Carolina, and it's happening in Pittsburgh today. Our guys had a lot of guts tonight. We're just going to keep getting better. I mean, that's what it is. One hell of a game that you will never, ever forget. We shocked the world! Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt. This is the week of September 7th. And this is the Hail to Pitt Podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Pam.
Pitt didn't get it done in their opener against ACC opponent Virginia. 30-14 loss leaves a lot to be worked on, a lot to be desired, and it raises so many questions. And we're going to talk it all out just a bit. And then we're going to move on and focus on MAC opponent Ohio, who comes to Heinz Field bright and early on Saturday morning. As tough as that is, we must move forward. But let's face it, Pam, they're still talking all about that performance on Saturday, whether it's on social media, on the boards, on the forums, or even in my case, I heard them talking about it in the cathedral halls before class. Everybody's still talking about the Virginia game, and they can do so still at H2P Show on social media. But Pam, why won't they just move on? It was week 1.
Oh, because the expectations were sky high. Everyone wanted to come out and see a different Panthers team, and they were left with the same old Pitt so far. So I think that leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth. Let us know what you think on the social networks.
Yes, at H2P Show. And, actually, I know we're going to do what the Yinzers are saying later on, Vince, but I was in class earlier today in the cathedral. I did hear a chatter behind me saying, yeah, I thought they were going to have a good year. It's all over. After week 1, anyone talking like that needs to stop.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, first of all, students are quite Yinzers, and students, they got other things to do. Go play Fortnite or something like that. I could see how they're rather let down.
You were rather let down after the game.
For 24 hours, but I'm back up and I'm ready to get better this coming week. There's a lot of work to do, and I think we're going to do it.
So you can complain about the season being over at H2P Show, like we said, or you could give us eternal optimism, which is what I prefer. At H2P Show, that's on Twitter, and that's on Instagram. And here's a quick reminder that we are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. If you want to start a podcast where you say really negative things about your favorite sport or sporting team, go to prettyeasypodcast.com and sign up today. Get your podcast going with your own personal producer who will help you get the technical stuff done so you could focus on being a negative Nancy, or maybe doing a fresh take on sports talk where you speak eloquently and positively, which is what we kind of do and which is what we're going to do as we recap the Virginia game. But there was some stuff that wasn't so great as we get into this UVA game, and that was mainly on the offensive side of the ball. Let's hear what Pat Narduzzi said about the Virginia touchdowns, and then we will go from there as we pick apart the Virginia loss.
I mean, their 3 touchdown drives were 19 yards. They scored 3 touchdowns, 19 yards, 27 yards, 29 yards. That's their touchdown drives. We'd love to have that field position, but we weren't afforded. Our 2 touchdown drives are 85 plus. And, so when you look at, keeping a drive going. So, again, I want to say that's a gift. I give them credit, but that's kind of what it was.
So moving from there, Pam, this was a Virginia team that was afforded a short field a few times for touchdowns. As we break the game down, Does all of this, and we place the blame, does it all go on the offense? Does some go on the defense? Narduzzi was upset also in the press conference following the game that they didn't hold him to field goals, but I'd have to say the majority falls on that offense. Obviously a special teams blunder, and there's a lot to pick apart when it comes to Kenny Pickett and that crew.
I don't know if we have it here in front of us, but I would like to see the time of possession in that game because I just felt like Virginia had the ball every single time. So I definitely think it was the offense. And most of the game, I wasn't too upset with how the defense was playing. I thought they did well. Hamlin once or twice, especially in the first quarter, I felt like was out of position. But after that, the whole defense seemed to really settle down. And considering they were on the field, it seemed like constantly after lots of 3-and-outs. I think they did a good job. You can't expect a good team in Virginia to be constantly held to field goals. They did that early on.
Time of possession was 34 and change to 25-44 in favor of UVA. Sorry, Vince.
Oh, that's not as bad as I felt sitting there at the game.
Still not good.
No, but
I that stat that Coach laid out there on the touchdown drives, I didn't quite notice it, during the game, but afterwards when I was looking at the statistics, I noticed it, and that was a huge thing. And, mostly the offense, I would say. But at the same time, he is right. Even if the defense is put their backs against the wall, they got to hold them to 3 instead of 7.
No, they did that so many times early on in the game. The defense was on the field so much longer, and the offense needs to at least convert a few drives, flip that field position, and make it easier. What's the defense supposed to give up? No yards? They're in field goal range or shortly thereafter.
And coaches,
every time.
And also say you're not allowed to gain another yard.
Yeah, being realistic here, Pitt's defense was way better than they were bad. They had a few blunders. Dane Jackson, some pass interference, couldn't get his head wrapped around to look at the ball. Hamlin got caught, and he got outworked for a ball deep. But other than that, a very average performance by Virginia, who a good offense, a good quarterback would have had a lot more than 181 yards. And they also I think held Bryce Perkins in check, who had less than 2.5 yards a carry. Okay, he did not run in for a score on them. He didn't turn the ball over, though. That was the only issue you could pick apart from the defense. When you're given a short field, the way Pitt's defense was, all blame and all focus needs to go offensively. The growing pains with Mark Whipple. Now we have to talk about what we saw out of them, which were a lot of drops. I think a lot of Kenny Pickett being unsure of himself, just looked like an uncomfortable, not confident quarterback. And that was the biggest detriment to the entire team for the game. That special teams, that block was horrible and really set Pitt back. I mean, you think of early on, Pitt could have gotten out to a little bit bigger lead at the half if it weren't for that. But really, Kenny Pickett's lack of confidence, ultimately, you don't want to be lazy and blame the quarterback, but if everyone's playing off of him, he made some plays with his legs, but he doesn't have the confidence yet. That was a total growing pains type game, Vince. That was a game where Pitt went out there and they had to kind of work through some stuff. Hopefully it's all over with because they've got an Ohio team that can beat them on their field early morning Saturday. Kenny Pickett, to me, just did not look confident. That was the number one reason why Pitt didn't get it done against UVA.
That's an interesting take there, and I'm not going to say it was all him, and I'm not going to just pin it on him. Pam, I'd like to get your opinion on this. We've laid out a lot of things here. Is this just literally poor execution, and maybe specifically poor execution by Pickett, or was there also some bad game planning here? Because I kind of think it's a little bit of both.
I think it was both, and I think Pickett, that second quarter, he looked pretty good. I thought he felt confident. I thought he looked good in the second quarter, but if you get outplayed in 3 other quarters, it doesn't matter. But I think they came out, what did they throw on 6 straight
the 6 straight plays from scrimmage were all passes.
The first series and the second series. So I think they came out. I think this goes back to poor game planning. They came out and they said, everyone thinks we're going to run. We're going to show them we can pass and screw it. And we are going to just pass, even if the run was there. And I think
to call a timeout, that was the first 6 plays. Pitt ran the ball, and ran pretty effectively once they got in a rhythm, but they wanted to get Kenny Pickett going. Obviously, that was part of the plan. And don't you think that was important? Don't you think Kenny Pickett had the opportunities? I felt like Mark Whipple put him in situations to succeed. Yeah. And we're talking about major drops and major missed throws by Pickett, who I don't think trusts either himself or his receivers, putting way too much mustard on these balls, overthrowing everybody, and then forcing some balls. I feel like game plan wise, he was put in a position to win. He just didn't get it done. Receivers didn't get it done. Tight ends didn't get it done.
I disagree. I think early on, in either the first series or the second series, mix in a run there to give him some confidence and like take the pressure off of him for one play. That's like 1 or 2 plays just to take that pressure off of him.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Alan. The opportunities were there. No doubt about that. So you can't say that there were bad plays designed. But 2 things I will say. We talked all last week how, the previous year we ran all over this team and we felt like we could run all over them again. But you look at the imbalance of passing to running. 41 pass attempts, 18 straight runs, and then 12 times Pickett had to run himself on pass plays. That's a huge imbalance there. That's just getting away from it. And you think that you'd be able to just, run the ball, be a little bit more balanced when it could have worked. And I think that the game was never really out of reach. And so I think they abandoned the run or didn't have it enough in their game plan from the start. And the second thing I'll say was, and this was specifically evident in the second half to me, was that Virginia's running this 3-4 scheme. They got guys blitzing from all different directions, and it seemed like they blitzed a whole lot more in the second half than the first half. And either we could not pick up the blitz, or there was no hot read available, or something that we could just not handle that.
Lots to say on this topic here. The second half pressure on Kenny Pickett is what you're getting into here. Before we all give our take on it, Pat Narduzzi spoke of it. Pam, coming out of this, let me know what you think Narduzzi's saying about the pressure that Pickett was under in his performance in the second half.
That's what quarterbacks do. They take hits and they get back up. And Kenny's a tough dude, and we don't want him to get hit like he did. So, the big thing is protect it. Big thing is, half those hits, the ball should already be gone, and we shouldn't have that problem. I don't see it as frazzled. I just see it's still a guy that's, maturing as he gets into this new offense and learning from what, he needs to do.
I think Coach was talking there about how Pickett's got to get rid of the ball quicker, and I'm not denying that whatsoever. He's got to read it and get rid of it very, very quickly. This is what we saw all last year. The little bit he gets pressured, he rolls out and either gets sacked or takes a big loss or makes a really, really costly play the second that pressure is there, as opposed to just finding a short read right there.
I'm not quite sure what Coach was saying there. How could the game plan be, we're going to allow these free rushers and just hope we could get rid of the ball quickly?
They weren't free. These sacks, more than half of them, as Narduzzi said there, were on Pickett, who had either bad feel in the pocket or didn't trust his running back stepping up and take. I mean, you had A.J. Davis and Sibley stepping up, taking on blitzers, and Kenny Pickett ran right into them. He stepped in right into them. He did not feel for the. He didn't have a feel for the pocket. He either stepped up when he shouldn't have, or he scrambled when he shouldn't have, and that was a lack of trust, I think, in what was in front of him.
And I think that's the most disturbing or disconcerting thing here is we saw that all last year with Pickett. When the pressure is there, he gets frazzled or he gets hit. And I think everyone wants to see improvement in that area, and there was none. It was the same thing. And
That's not the quarterback he is. I don't think he is a quarterback who is going to step up, feel pressure, and know what to do with the ball. He needs to be put.
Then what do? You
need to have him throw the best routes, and he was throwing were the quick crosses, the wheel route to A.J. Davis. You need to get the ball designed to get the ball out of Pickett's hands real quick. He should only be throwing deep after one game. If you're Whipple, I think if you're Whipple, you went out in that game week one thinking, okay, I'm going to trust Pickett, let him throw a lot, over 40 times. Moving forward, I don't expect that to be happening a whole lot more, Vince, but also I expect Whipple to be only letting Kenny Pickett look downfield when he knows he's going to have time, when it's designed maybe a bootleg or a play action with extra blockers. Kenny Pickett's going to be protected. Kenny Pickett is effective when he throws the ball quickly or when the play breaks down. Stepping up in the pocket, I don't know if they can trust him to do that. That's just not the quarterback he is.
Well, you can't play the game within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's just not going to work. You got to be able to stretch the field somehow. And how can you be practicing all summer long and not know that he can't hit these throws? That's what I don't get. The guys were open. If he couldn't hit this stuff in practice, then how? Why would they even call this in a game?
This is the offense that they're going out there. You've the first game with Pickett and Whipple. I mean, this is the first game. You have to trial by fire. And it's trial and error as well. You got to go out there and see what you could do in a real game. Practice is nothing compared to a real game. Narduzzi even said it. They asked him before the game, what do you think about Pickett under the new offense? He said, I don't know. We got to wait till he's out there under the lights. You went out there, you saw him under the lights. He was 21 of 41. He overthrew a lot of guys. He threw some really bad interceptions. He forced one to Tazir Mack after Mack dropped the ball, so you could totally tell he was trying to get him another shot at it, at redemption. So his head's not in the right space there. The lack of confidence in his blockers in front of him. There's a lot of issues with Kenny Pickett, but what are you going to do other than go out there and let him work through them, Vince? Otherwise, you're just going to start already in week 2 making changes at QB. I don't think that's an option yet.
Yeah, that seems like a very a very risky proposition here. Let me ask you this. We all said last week we wanted to see some aggressiveness, right? That's what we wanted to see, and we did that. It didn't quite work out, obviously. Do you feel like this was a situation where you're changing so much on offense that maybe the game plan should have been altered a little bit to be a little bit more conservative in hindsight, because you changed so much, you're going up against a good opponent, and you didn't have a warm-up game against a 1AA team where you could really work out that kind of stuff. Yeah. Do you think this game would have been much different if it was played in the middle of the season?
I think it would have been different in the middle of the season, but I mean, Pam, going back to it, we talked about the situations were there for Pitt to succeed. It was not Virginia, forcing Pitt into error. It was Pitt shooting themselves in the foot a whole lot in this game. You hate to, not give the team all the credit, but really that's what we saw there, wasn't it? Pitt did not execute. Overthrows on wide open guys, drop passes left and right. Those little plays get made. Isn't the game way different in week 1? I don't think we need to be talking about midseason. Pitt was put in a position to win. They didn't do it.
Yeah, and shifting gears from the quarterback just slightly, another area of the game plan I did not like was the running backs. It just felt like they were thrown in, taken out with Davis and Sibley. And I would have liked to seen one guy really get some rhythm a little bit more than what how they were used. They were just used very sporadically. One would come in, one would come out, one would come in. And it wasn't like one got a really long run and they needed a rest. I felt like they couldn't get a rhythm going, the running backs.
We only had 18 carries by running backs. So how can you can't get in a rhythm when that's the case?
I just didn't like the breakdown on how they were used. I just felt like it was very sporadic.
I think you were getting off the point here, because the game plan was there. These passes were dropped. These wide open receivers were missed. That is not on coaching or game plan. That is on the quarterback and his wide receivers not executing. So I don't know. I don't think we need to talk.
I was disappointed in Mac big time this game. He's supposed to be one of the leaders.
Well, let me pose this question. If early in the game you're seeing that you're not hitting these throws, should you say, okay, maybe we should run it more and not get behind as much as we were?
And control the tempo a little bit, control the time of possession. Yeah. Another thing they did not do, which I would have liked to seen them, is get the ball to French in some space a little bit.
Yeah, not enough touches by him.
I mean, and missed opportunities with Malik Carter as well. I think you saw glimpses at what Pitt can be in the second quarter. You saw that Pitt, if they execute well, I think the play calling with a lot of crosses and a lot of short developing routes for Kenny Pickett. If they can execute those, they're there. You saw that Kenny Pickett could open plays up with his legs. You saw that Kenny Pickett's not far off from being accurate deep, and that's what I said last week. You got to see Kenny Pickett accurate deep, not that much, just a couple of times. And boy, oh boy, were they close. And the receivers, if your receivers are getting open, you got 11 more games to start hitting them. That's what you got to look at this as offensively. I mean, we didn't talk a whole lot of defense because I think overall we got to be pretty hyped for the defense. And Pam, I think a couple weeks ago, Pat Bostic hit the nail on the head. D-line looked beastly. D-line looked great.
They were excellent, and they were just funneling guys in and out, and they were getting some great pressure. One or two drives, Perkins was able to extend with his legs, but not other than that. And it was very minimal. And for a dynamic runner like Perkins, they did an excellent job containing. We talked about this D-line in the past 2 or 3 years and how it was a weak spot at Pitt because they couldn't get any pressure. They were there. They really allowed the guys on the back end to get some pressure. And the linebacking core, everyone seemed to do well. Just a few breakdowns in the secondary, but other than that, I was very impressed.
Yeah, it was a good enough performance to win. That's for sure. Yeah, they may let Perkins run a little bit more than we would have liked to see, and that's tough going up against a very good runner at that position. It kind of throws your awareness on the deep line off kilter a little bit. But like you said, I thought they played very good enough to win. I'm excited to see them more. That may be one of the more trickier offenses they're going to have to go against this entire season.
Yeah, and really, I thought they bottled Perkins up for as much as he could go off. I mean, he had one really long run, a 27-yarder.
127, yeah.
Yeah, and other than that, he had a couple short, play breaks down, dive for a first down here, and that he wasn't killing him. It wasn't like, oh my God, this guy is just so much better than anybody on Pitt's defense. How are they going to? No, they contained him pretty well, and a lot of young guys stepped up. Hail to Pitt, everybody. It's Alan. Quick show edit, inserting this after we completed the episode on Tuesday. Obviously, big news. Had to make sure this made the episode. Keyshawn Camp, the defensive tackle, out for the season. Absolutely devastating injury, especially considering the Rashad Weaver injury, especially considering, well, you're about to hear us gloat about how great Keyshawn Camp was. He graded out well. He looked good against Virginia, but unfortunately, the defensive tackle is going to be out with a knee injury all season long. So Pitt suffers another devastating injury on the defensive line. The rest of the episode, we don't dive too far into how good Keyshawn Camp looked. We talk a little bit about it right here. But Pitt's defensive line looked great. They lose one of the better-looking players from week one, and honestly, from what I saw, I think Pitt has the dudes defensively, and you'll hear us talk a little bit about how good they looked. But just adding this in after the announcement here into the episode, which we did record Tuesday, might have to redo our schedule if more Pitt Panthers are going to be dropping this way. Hopefully not anymore, but Keyshawn Camp totally sucks. The young man out for the season with a knee injury. Hail to Pitt, Keyshawn Camp. If you love Pro Football Focus, Keyshawn Camp was just one of the most efficient college football players in the country in just 19 snaps, 6 pressures on a speedster like Bryce Perkins from the middle of the defensive line. You gotta like that moving forward for Pitt's defense. And a couple blunders here and there in the secondary, but this is football in 2019. I don't get too mad about pass interferences and players getting handcuffed when the ball's up in the air defensively. So moving forward, Pitt's defense, I think, is going to be a big advantage against an Ohio team that comes in as a MAC favorite, put up over 40 points in their week 1 outing against Rhode Island. Pam, we're talking about a team that returns a lot of starters and has a coach that's trying to ride off into the sunset in Frank Solich, who, is probably, a lot of people saying, going to retire. I don't know if he announced it or what, but he's probably done after the season, and Ohio's looking to get their first MAC title under him. And they've got effective players, especially at quarterback, a guy who can throw the ball and run the ball effectively, just like Bryce Perkins.
Yeah, it's going to be another test for this Pittsburgh defense to see if last week was a fluke on how well they played, or if they can continue it on. Another dual threat kid named QB Nate Rourke. He ran a lot last year, 134 rushing attempts, 15 TDs. And against Rhode Island this past week, he led the team in rushing. So definitely someone to keep an eye on with the legs as well as the arms, too. So that D-line's got to contain and get pressure, and those linebacker cores got to contain him there, too.
Zone reads. Be disciplined on defense this week. And then for Pitt's offense, Vince, going up against the Bobcats, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to actually extend drives and avoid those 3 and outs. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets cleaned up real quick against this defense.
Yeah, Ohio, not the best defense here. Last year, a horrible third down D percentage, giving up conversions 44% of the time. They're a secondary team led by their secondary. Not the biggest defensive line. They don't even have a guy over 300 pounds. And so that tells me right there we should be able to run on them, very effectively. So that the backbone of the offense there, the running game should be there. It just seems like, the opportunities will be there to hit those passes again, like you were talking about, Alan, but they got to do it this time.
Yeah, I expect a lot more balance in terms of the game plan this week, because I feel like Whipple went out there really trying to let Pickett loose. He saw some things there against Virginia with coverage, I think, downfield that they went for it last week. This week, though, I don't anticipate that going down. I anticipate a lot of Davis and Sibley and Malik Carter and the running attack this week. Pam, how about you?
Yeah, I think I definitely see a lot of Davis and Sibley out there, and I really want to see them pound it to open up those quick play action passes as well. I'd like to see even just some quick passes to Davis and Sibley on wheel routes and quick passes to French. Let's see if we can work on those more quick passes, because that's something obviously this team is going to have to do well to succeed.
Yeah, this is going to be an opportunity for Kenny Pickett to be efficient, I think should be his goal this week, Vince. Be efficient with the football. Don't waste downs, and definitely don't take unnecessary sacks, please.
Yeah. Way too many of those last week that really killed some drives late in that game. We just can't have that, and they shouldn't be getting in a third and long situation that much if they could run the ball effectively, and shouldn't have to have those deep routes needed to be developed very often. So we should hopefully we won't even see that type of scenario come up.
Yeah, I was worried about those drops too. Receivers also have a lot to work on this week. Lots to be corrected. The game is early though, which also is, you're talking about a team that it's a MAC opponent, respect them, but not a Power 5 team. But at 11 a.m., that's what they would say is a quintessential trap game. But, Pitt's a 5.5-point favorite against Ohio. Which casino are we going by this week, Vince?
We're at the Westgate.
We're at the Westgate
Superbook right now, which we will be using throughout the entire season.
Okay, so we're at the Westgate. Pitt's 5.5. Does that line tell you that the odds makers think it's a trap game for the Panthers?
It tells me that they're not giving us much respect at all. This game started at only 6.5, and it's already come down to 5.5. So bettors obviously don't have much confidence in us either. I don't know if this is just strictly an overreaction to the first game, and maybe that first game kind of did, give confidence to what all these people and criticizers were saying throughout the offseason, that, they have a quarterback who's no good. They're replacing all these offensive linemen. They couldn't throw the ball at all last year. And that all seems to be true so far. And hopefully we're going to get that turned around. But I think bettors are looking at that, and you got this dangerous Ohio team coming in that seems to be where the market is. But I just can't see this game being that close. I hope not.
I expect, from what I saw, I expect a team that to come out and clean up very fixable issues from week one. So I think 5.5 is thank you, Westgate. I think Pitt is better as a Power 5 school, looked better than any group of 5 school out there. Well, maybe not UCF. We'll see about them, Pam. But I'm liking 5.5. I'm liking Pitt this week. Early game, be damned. 11 a.m.'s not that early, right? Most of these kids are up before then, I hope.
I don't know if they're up, but they will be up. But I think Pitt's going to win here. I think they're going to come out with a more balanced attack. I really do. And maybe even just kill some clock and hold on to the ball a little longer.
I agree with you. I think the offense is really going to bounce back this week. One thing that does have me just a slight concern on the defense is, Frank Solich said earlier this week that, he knows this Narduzzi defense very well. And so he knows how to attack it. And I hope that does not give our defense fits. I would hope our superior talent would be able to overcome that.
I think I saw the superior talent last week. I don't know if there are, offensive lines in the MAC that can handle what I saw last week from the best we were getting from the Pitt linebackers and defensive line, especially how they were working cohesively when they were attacking Bryce Perkins, who is such a good quarterback. A very efficient quarterback, a smart quarterback, and Pitt got after him. And then we saw glimpses of, I think, stardom out of Paris Ford with, a beautiful strip on a play where a player is extending for a first down. If you have players who can make plays like that, you should be able to go out there and handle a group of 5 team as a member of the ACC. Pitt Panthers. I don't care if they know what you do on defense. If you go out, execute, you're responsible, mind your gaps, contain zone reads, you'll be good to go. I think Pitt wins. They cover. I got them winning 20. Let's go 27-13. Nope. This offense is all right. 27-20. I'll give them an extra touchdown. Garbage time touchdown, Pam.
I got Pitt 31-21.
Like
really?
That.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, 31 to, we'll say 31-17.
31-17, 31-21. I'm the low ball on the Pitt score then. Again, 2 weeks in a row.
Again.
Yep, that might be a theme for the year. I'm always gonna be conservative when it comes to Pitt's offense until we start seeing Kenny Pickett hit some deep throws. Maybe I'll start bumping it up. So I got 27-20. That's a cover all around. Pitt, Ohio, 11 a.m. at Heinz Field this week. We're hyped for it. I'm always looking for an opportunity to get better, Vince, especially to rectify and get bad tastes out of mouths. But a lot of people, unfortunately, it's tough for them to get over it. And then they see an 11 a.m. kickoff, and already the Pitt season, at least for Yinzers, I'm sure all the way around town, it's not looking good for them.
No, it's not. You talked about what some of the students were saying earlier, but other people around town more of the same.
Yeah, the students are saying it maybe a little less eloquently than what the Yinzers are saying.
Another Saturday coming, and the Panthers are playing. Time to find out what the Yinzers are saying.
You ready for the game this weekend?
Not really. A horrible time. I mean, what jag-off schedule these games anyway?
Oh, I know. I don't even think I'm going to be able to. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. My schedule's all messed up. I don't know. Got people coming over, people wanting to do this and that. I'll tell you, we got to be better though. That's all I care about. We got to be better. I'm done. I'm telling you, I'll just sit and wait for the Penn season to start. I don't care.
Yeah, you're right. It all comes down to just stopping Tom Brady. Hey, by the way, when's Pitt play this weekend?
What the Yinzers are saying.
So that's what the Yinzers are saying. Pitt, Ohio, 11 a.m. Heinz Field this weekend. Got to be there. Huge bounce back game for the Panthers. But there's also some other huge games around the country that we're going to talk about here, including one, Alan, that I know you are really looking forward to.
Oh, college football. And this week it might go down as the best week that there's going to be this season already, with two of the games on the national slate. But before we go to those, can I just go back to last week where I was just absolutely money on analyzing everything going on in college football, from Pitt to Auburn beating Oregon, Pam? I mean, come on. I'm like some kind of college football genius. You would have thought that I lived in the South covering the best college football for 3 years of my life.
I'm just going to remind you, you did say Virginia was going to score 13 points, and they ended up with, 30 or 31. So I wouldn't go as far as being a genius. You did okay in the national games, but Oregon.
Barely.
Yeah. And it took a miracle by Bo Nix, or Oregon would have won. They should have won. They should have been up 34-0 at half.
Well, Narduzzi will back me up. Virginia was given a lot of short fields. Other than that, they would have scored 13 points. So I think I was good there. As far as Auburn, it just means more to them. And you saw it in that game. It meant more. It meant more to everybody on the field compared to Justin Herbert. Does that guy? He comes back. Is he? I think he's scared to go to the NFL. That's what I think he's going to go. You saw it there. Just got outshined by a freshman quarterback, not even the best freshman quarterback on the Auburn team, and the Tigers go out there and prove the SEC superior to the Pac-12 once again. And I just want to say condolences to both of you on your national champion pick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did Nike pay you? Did Nike pay you both to make that pick? By the way,
I wish Nike sent me some good gear. I'd love it.
Yeah, not looking good for Oregon here. But we got a few games we got to get to this week. We're going to talk about, first of all, the big noon kickoff on Fox. Army, a 23-point underdog at Michigan right now at the Westgate. I must say, the Westgate Superbook, the best sports book to watch football, certainly in Las Vegas, maybe anywhere in the country. Pam,
Better than Rivers. Better than Rivers.
I would say so.
We'll
Pam,
see when the new Rivers area opens up.
But what do you think about this here? Army, very good season last year. This year against Rice, a kind of a sluggish opener. This is, I think, this is obviously the best team Army's going to play all year. If they can somehow get by this Michigan team, they may make it to a New Year's Six Bowl. That's the kind of team they may have if they're as good as they were the past couple seasons. What do you think about this game?
Are we talking about Army?
I don't know.
We are.
He's going crazy.
What is it? What are you on right now? What's going on here? LSU plays Texas this week, and you're starting with Army and Michigan.
Army looked awful against Rice, and Rice is one of the worst football teams.
We're going in order of kickoff in time on the East Coast, and Army and Michigan, the big noon kickoff.
Isn't West Virginia and Missouri a a better game. Vanderbilt, Purdue, Syracuse and Maryland. You're talking Army and Michigan. Who? What? Why? There are great.
There's no way Army's going to make a New Year's Six regardless of.
What do you mean?
Their schedule's an absolute joke. Let's just move on. Michigan's going to win. They're favored by 23. Let's move on.
If you want to watch the big noon kickoff, watch it, but then switch the channel and watch the game on ESPN2 or ESPN, where it's going to be a lot more.
And they got rid of Dave Weinstead on that channel. So.
Yeah, they replaced him with Urban Meyer, who is just so boring. My goodness. Yeah. If it weren't for Reggie Bush, that show would be unwatchable. Texas A&M and Clemson, Vince. That's where we go next. That's what we talk. And Texas A&M had a guard this week who missed a lot of last season because he was injured, come out and say they're going to be basically predicted they're going to beat Clemson. A&M, the Aggies had a player say, we're going to beat them. And then Jimbo said he shouldn't have said that. And now Clemson's got bulletin board material. But I will say Trevor Lawrence looked like maybe like the 11th best quarterback in the nation last week. My Heisman pick, Jalen Hurts, looking like the best in the world, while Trevor Lawrence threw some bad picks against Georgia Tech last week, Pam.
Yeah, he did, but I think that he rises to the level of competition. So 17.5-point favorite for Clemson at home. I think this is going to be 28 point blowout by Clemson. I think Texas A&M's good, but
crazy.
But I think Clemson 21-28. 4 scores. They get one late. But okay, we can talk all we want about Trevor Lawrence, but Travis Etienne looked amazing. He's going to run through this Texas A&M defense.
I don't know about that. You're talking about the team that played them toughest last year. And
yeah,
you're right.
An SEC defense.
And that defense. Well, I was going to say the defense for Clemson was way better last year.
Yes, way better. Playing all underclassmen on the defensive line.
You're thinking A&M's going to cover 17.5 points.
Definitely.
That's not.
And I half believe this Hawker kid, the guard. I might pick A&M to win this game by the end of us talking through it here, Vince.
Yeah, well,
Clemson's going to blow them out.
A&M's got a good team. That Mond, good quarterback. They got a lot of good athletes on that offense.
Correct you. Good fat quarterback. Put on a lot of weight. He's going to be able to take any hits Clemson throws his way this week.
He may need to. Even at home, it seems a little suspicious that this line is so high at 17.5 that it tells me that somebody knows something about this game and they think that Clemson's going to just absolutely blast them. So conventional wisdom would have you taking Texas A&M at this high number, but I'm going to pick Clemson.
I'll take A&M when it comes to the points, and oh man, it's so early in the week. I don't want to have to make it my upset special, but I'm picking Clemson to win. But I will not be surprised at all if A&M is the one to do them in. I mean, they handled a small Texas State school last week easily. They didn't give up a touchdown until garbage time. A&M so they basically shut them out. So the defense looks ready. A defense that doesn't have a Myles Garrett type, but it is a defense full of capable recruits, high caliber recruits. That is, I can't believe any mid-level to upper tier SEC school being favored or dogs by 17 on the road to me is insanity. This is crazy.
That's how good Clemson is. I cannot wait until this game is over. Clemson blows them out, and I will be texting you. I told you so. ETN has. I'm
picking A&M
280 yards.
I'm just going to throw it out there in the universe. A&M wins.
Hey, you're the college football guru, apparently. So who do you have, LSU or Texas, in the last big game of the weekend?
Oh, the big game of the year. This is it. This is everything. This is
live every day.
This is what it's all about. Coach O versus Matthew McConaughey. This is what sports are all about. And this is the big game for all of America. ABC, Saturday night. And here we go. LSU Tigers, number 6. Texas is back, number 9. LSU, Joe Burrow looking so efficient. And Sam Ehlinger's a gunslinger, but you can't sling gun against that LSU secondary. Vince, Tigers all the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going to be picking LSU this week, you got to give us how you think they would win, as Coach O would say it.
What a great Tiger.
And, I'm picking LSU to win this game, mainly because, Texas, outside of Ehlinger, they're just not mature enough. I think on the surrounding team to go up against these supreme athletes at LSU, and that's why I'm going to be picking the Tigers.
LSU, a bunch of players that have played in games bigger than this on the road, and they've been woodshedded in games like this against Alabama in particular. But they've come out and they've won when they shouldn't have. A lot of these guys have that experience playing in games against teams like Auburn and A&M. So, the experience is a huge factor here, but if you want to talk about how Coach O would do it, he would just run down his whole roster. You got Joe Burrow at quarterback. We got Miles Brennan behind him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back. We got Leonard, Chris Curry behind him, and then he would just run down his entire roster and tell you that's why they're going to win. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you that LSU's going to win because they just got all the dudes from Christian Fulton at corner, Grant Delpit at safety. Going to be rough for Sam Ehlinger when it comes to playing the position of quarterback, where Joe Burrow is going to be facing some good players on the Texas side, but I think is going to have a lot more opportunities to be efficient and not be asked to do as much as Sam Ehlinger was going to have to do.
I'm taking LSU too. Joe Burrow looked really good. LSU showed some stuff last week, new look offense as well. So I'm definitely picking LSU in this one.
Yeah, this is the big week where LSU's new look offense gets their big test. Pam, this is what they talk about every year. LSU's offense is finally going to look modern and not like it's from 1958. And they're going against the team full of athletic linebackers in Texas. I'm interested to see how they fare against that three-man front. But it's going to be fun because I think that this is a good matchup for the new look LSU offense. I think this is a Texas defense that's not equipped to handle the kind of athletes, like you said, Vince, LSU has on the outside on offense.
And LSU may not even have to score that many points. I mean, with how good their defense is, and if Texas gets under the gun here, I'm not sure how they're going to recover. Especially you got number 18, your guy Caleb Von Chase on. He's calling out Sam Ehlinger, saying he's coming after him this week. This is just too much for Texas. I'm kind of surprised that the line's only 5 points.
I mean, Texas played Louisiana Tech last week, gave up a whole 14 points to them. So that obviously they don't have the defense, Pam, to handle Joe Burrow. Giving up 14 to Louisiana Tech, you translate that to LSU. I think LSU might score 48 in this one.
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't. No, not at all. I think Texas might have been looking ahead a little bit to this one against La Tech this past week. So I think it's going to be more like a 31-21 type of game.
Oh, it's going to be an awesome game under the lights. I'm hoping it's 48-45 LSU. They do have good players.
It's not a Big 12 game.
LSU was in a 70-point game last year. So they could put
7 overtimes. The game was 10 hours long.
They had Did they have 40 when it ended in regulation though? So they put
LSU's not giving up 40 points this week.
Yeah, probably not. Who knows? Texas has some good players on defense too that maybe we'll be surprised and they both score under 30. That's possible. Either way, LSU wins. Go Tigers.
What a great Tiger.
And Coach O will be undefeated after 2 weeks. This is the best home and home going right now. First one, Tech in Austin. We didn't even speak on it, Texas being the home team at all, Pam. You don't think there's any advantage there?
No. McConaughey will be on the sidelines and they'll show him on the big screen. But I think LSU plays at Alabama every other year. They play tougher games. I think they're going to go in with no fear.
Yeah. Also, I could tell you from experience, getting from Baton Rouge to Austin. Not that long of a drive, especially if you're riding in a party tailgate bus the way those Tiger fans roll. So that's going to be the place to be on planet Earth, Austin, Texas this weekend. Is that where game day's at this week?
It
Vince?
is. First time in 10 years coming to Austin.
Oh, wow. First time. That wasn't Vince Young era, was it? No, that was after Vince Young.
Yeah, it would have been.
Colt McCoy. Yeah. All right. Well, those are our that's college football this week. It's going to be a great weekend. And Pitt starts it all off against Ohio, Pam, 11 a.m., which is I'm liking. It brings me back to living on the West Coast, waking up and watching football at 9 sometimes. Try doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to kick off the day, and then you can watch all these other great games as the day goes on.
Yeah,
you're going to miss that Army-Michigan game.
Yeah,
big noon kickoff.
The big noon kickoff's on during the Pitt game, Vince. You won't even be able to watch.
I know.
That.
We're going to miss it.
We're not missing LSU in Texas, are we?
No,
not at all. Might have to watch that at the Rivers. I don't think we can make it to the West Gate by the end of the day.
Not unless you got a private jet.
I do not. But I have hopes for Pitt against Ohio this week. Let us know what you got for predictions. Show drops every single Thursday, so you got some time to get them to us at H2P Show on Twitter and Instagram. And I guess anything else left to say but hail to Pitt, Pam?
Nope, hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
How do you like me now?